because dimethyltryptamine is one of the pineal metabolites, that when the pineal gland is actually activated, those tiny little crystals, when you begin to compress them and you begin to create a piezoelectric effect, you begin to activate those crystals to become electrically charged, those crystals can begin to shimmer. They begin to vibrate, and they can, like a radio receiver, begin to tune into frequencies. So then as you teach a student how to do that, what happens is the pineal gland, once it hooks up to an energy, begins to produce an upgrade of melatonin. And one of those chemicals is dimethyltryptamine, a very profoundly powerful hallucinogenic. But that's only one, and that comes from the plant medicine, but at the same time, when the pineal gland is activated, it produces very powerful antioxidants, anti-cancer, anti-aging, anti-heart disease, anti-stroke, anti-neurodegenerative, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. You take that molecule, you tweak it again, you have a benzodiazepine. What's that? Valium. You're gonna shut down the survival centers in your brain, so you're gonna feel totally safe to create. You're gonna create the same chemicals that a hibernating animal creates. No sex drive, no appetite, no preoccupation with the environment. That's the first 3 energy centers of your body. Where's energy gonna move? Into your heart. The body goes into stasis. You're gonna create the same chemical found in an electric eel. You're gonna have high amplitudes of energy in the nervous system. We've measured this. Now, not a little bit of energy, not a lot of energy. I'm talking about a supernatural amount of energy, like hundreds of standard deviations outside of normal. That person's having an arousal. Now, an arousal normally takes place from the stress hormones, fear, aggression, or anger, or pain. That's what creates arousal. That's a fight or flight sympathetic response. Now, this arousal is bliss. This arousal is ecstasy. And now the arousal in high gamma brainwave patterns, amplitudes that are way outside of normal. The person is super conscious in that state. They can't make their brain do that. That's happening to them. That's that high amplitude, that an electrical charge, that like electric eel electrically activates their nervous system. Now the brain is doing that. And now here comes dimethyltryptamine. Now the inner experience is going to be more real than anything out there. Now, plant medicine does that to shift the person's consciousness because that chemical fits into the same receptor sites as serotonin and melatonin, but this has got a very different message, right? So now imagine the flood of these metabolites coming from the pineal gland. The pineal gland's transducing a frequency. It's a transducer into profound imagery. So if the person then has an inner experience that is that profound, experience enriches the brain, right? So now you're laying down new circuits, and experience produces an emotion. The person's feeling an arousal of ecstasy or bliss. They're going to be paying attention to the pictures in their mind. Now, what's that going to do? When they come back to three-dimensional reality, we don't see things how they are, we see things how we are. The brain can only perceive equal to how it's wired. You have a profound inner experience like that, your perception, your spectrum of reality is going to begin to broaden, because now your brain has the circuits to perceive what's always existed, but you've edited out because of most of your attention in three-dimensional reality. So now the brain is beginning to change from an inner experience. And this is how I think the mystics did it, because now all of a sudden, you're able to perceive more. You're able to notice this is a species of living organisms. So the plant medicine, for a lot of people, is a great jump start. But by the same means, I have seen people do 65 journeys of plant medicine with stage 4 cancer, and they haven't changed their stage 4. Well, time to do something else.
Yeah.
Time that, let's get practical here. It's time to change it up. So, I mean, it's good to get a little change in brain chemistry, you get an altered perception of the way the world really is. But now, that insight has to be instrumental. In other words, how is this going to change me in my day-to-day life? Because if you go back to reacting to the same people and conditions in your life, there's going to be a glazing over. It's going to, over time, it's going to lose.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to. 1 foot in the quantum world, 1 foot in the real world, and you've got to be able to navigate the both. You can't live completely in that quantum world. You've got a body, so like here we are. Take whatever you can or create from there, but just be able to get there. Be able to dance back and forth, be able to move between 2 worlds and come into three-dimensional reality and bring that energy with you. bring who you want to be into that three-dimensional reality, and be greater than your environment, be greater than your body, be greater than time, and do it because you want to see the effects of what could happen when you do it properly. And when you start seeing the effects, it's no longer about you created the wealth or the new car or whatever. It's the fact that you did it. That becomes the important point. It's not the material thing, it's knowing that you can do it.
Yeah.
Now you're talking.
What do you think?
And I think it's really healthy because we tell ourselves stories based on our level of consciousness in that moment. Yeah, I'm sure it was traumatic for you. I'm sure it was really uncomfortable. I'm sure you experienced a lot of separation and a lot of duality. And yeah, that's really true. However, the question is, when you get to certain problems and conditions in your life that trigger the same emotion, do you return back to that 7-year-old child that's unconsciously trying to figure out the world or feeling isolated or alone or whatever? So then is it the event that's important? No. If you understood the emotion that you felt when you were 7 years old and you worked on getting beyond that emotion, once you got beyond it, you would see that experience from a greater level of consciousness. And you would see that it was the best possible outcome for you, the best possible outcome for your parents, and you would see it instead of from a place of hurt or suffering, you would see it from a place of understanding, a place of compassion. That's kind of the work. So when we tell ourselves that story of the past, we keep reaffirming our inability to change. I want people to tell a story of their future, and I want them to believe in that future more than they believe in their past. I want them to romance their future more than they romance their past. I want them to make their future more real than their past. And if you keep doing that, that becomes reality. So yeah, it takes a lot of work. Yeah, and you know what? People in our work, they watch their mind movies before they go to sleep. Why? Because that's the best thing they should be putting in their brain before they go to bed. Yeah, they sit up before they lay down and they work on restoring their body for 15 or 20 minutes because it's their temple. It's their servant. They want to acknowledge it. They want to love it so that it restores and regenerates. Yeah, they wake up in the morning and they do the work instead of getting their coffee and their shower and their newspaper or their cell phone. They understand that all of those things they're going to get to. But a little bit of time to invest in yourself is investing in your future. And I think that if you believe in yourself, you believe in possibilities. And when you believe in possibilities, you got to believe in yourself. So people are now all of a sudden becoming more resourceful. They're standing up for themselves. They're doing the work, whether they're 92 years old or 90 years old. You can't, a 90-something-year-old lady that in one of our last events, she made her own mind movie, right? You can't tell me you're old and you can't do technology now. We have someone that was 92 that did it. You make a movie of your future.
Of your future, right. Yeah.
And what do you want to be in your future? Like a television commercial. Get so lost in it. Open your heart, put your heart into it, stay in trance, know how to execute that trance, and when you're in trance, you're more suggestible to information. And suggestibility is your ability to accept, believe, and surrender to information without analyzing it. And what separates the conscious mind from the subconscious mind is the analytical mind. So as you move into trance, you suppress your analytical facilities, you become more suggestible, you slow your brain waves down, and what's the significance of that? Well, if you're not analyzing, you're not going to say, how's that going to happen? What didn't happen last time? Where am I going to afford that? If you don't have the critic in your mind saying that, it's going right into the subconscious. And if you're doing it just before you go to sleep, your brainwaves are already changing.